Today we have an amazing leader from IT sales and marketing, Preeti Ranjit.
A small town girl can make wonders, can get into corporate world, can have passion, can lead large teams. Engineers are introverts. When you're sitting in front of a CXO, all you need is to understand, to listen to him carefully. How can you bring tech value, connecting dots to solving his needs?
What was your first sales? Something that you are till today, you probably are proud of.
It is not easy to sit on the decision making table. That is one of its kind of a motivation for a factor for me as well, that yes, I can really do good in sales.
So can you shed some lights on how you got into Microsoft and tell us about your interview process?
Probably someone visited my LinkedIn and then they gave me a call. We are calling from Microsoft. We are looking for someone for this role.
What are some of the leadership values and the leadership principles that you follow?
I follow 5C framework: consistency, competency, courage, and confidence, compass.
Every now and then we get to see these viral reels where they say Gen AI is going to finish this role or this role is going to close. Tell me, Preeti, how some of these Gen AI tools will impact this industry?
Sales is something which Gen AI can never replace. So if there is a myth that Gen AI will going to take away your job, then you are wrong.
Namaste and welcome to Algo Career Podcast. Often we hear the complaint that there is a gap between academia and industry. Academia complains that leaders from industry don't come often to campuses, and leaders in industry complain that we don't have enough time to go to every college and every university. And this is exactly the problem that myself and my team, Algorithms 365 team, we are trying to solve. We want to bring engineers from the industry to the doorsteps of the colleges through these career podcasts. And our goal is to invite these leaders from the industry in India and even from other countries and share their fascinating career journeys and stories with our youth and prepare them for the industry. And today we have an amazing leader from IT sales and marketing, Preeti Ranjit, who comes from a very small tier 3 town called Sadashivpet in Telangana. She did her schooling there and engineering in computer science, and she has transitioned into sales and marketing career from an engineering background. She has thrived and excelled in those roles, and she has built big teams. She has led multi-million-dollar deals, and she has worked with great MNCs like Microsoft, F-Secure, and other startups. As a part of her career journey, she has traveled all around the world: New York, Seattle, Dubai, Singapore, and so many countries, and worked with so many multinational clients. For our journey to start this career podcast, I don't think we could have had a better leader than her. And it's an honor and privilege for me and my team to bring Preeti Ranjit in front of all of you to know about her career journey. With this, let's get started. Good morning, Preeti, and welcome to our career podcast.
Thank you so much, Mahesh. Thanks for having me today. It is important to give back to society, and no other platform can be as better as sharing your experiences and inspire youth out there to choose right career paths, especially in sales.
Thank you. So, can you just briefly tell us about your current role and what you do?
I work with an organization called MB Software as a regional sales director. I own the P&L of the region.
Now, let's go back to your early days. I would like to know briefly about your background, where you come from, where you studied, where you went to college, and then how was your academic and undergrad journey. Can you just briefly shed some lights on that? Because there are many girls who will be watching this podcast, and many of them I know that if they are from small towns, they may be thinking whether will I be able to make it big into corporate world? Can I get into sales and marketing kind of career? And for all those girls, I think they would be very happy and very inspired by hearing your early days journey. Please share it with us.
Thank you. Like you rightly mentioned, I come from a tier 3 small town called Sadashivpet in Telangana, where I have seen my school friends got married very early stages in 6th class.
Oh my God.
I am blessed to have such parents who put all their efforts to give me good education and values. And today, this is where I stand. It is not just about the economical freedom which I wanted to thrive. It is all about a small town girl can make wonders, can get into corporate world, can have passion, can lead large teams, can land impact. I have done my schooling in my own small town. So I began with engineering. What pulled me into tech was not just coding. It is about solving the real life challenges, real world problems. Eventually, I got into sales where I can connect the dots between a client challenges,
Mhm.
bring a tech value attached to it.
And have you thought of, these career choices in your college days, or it just happened as you moved in your career? Like, what motivated you from switching from tech background? And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I think you started your journey as a software engineer. Is that correct?
Yes, Mahesh. I began with engineering, a field which demands precision and resilience. Uh, what it was not just about the coding.
Okay.
And then I realized I wanted to land impacts at scale.
Okay.
In my very first organization, F Secure, which is a security first organization, when I was working on something, I was not agreeing to my manager's vision or thought process. I started giving him some real life challenges and examples,
Okay.
and that inspired him,
Uh-huh.
and which made me to enter into sales world. That's when he told me, Preeti, I think just sitting at a desk job, you will not be able to contribute more.
Uh-huh.
You can do wonders when you move to sales and marketing.
Wow.
So that is when my sales journey has started.
So it's the manager who observed that you had that bent of mind or empathy for your customers, and he helped you spot that skill in you.
Yes.
And I think the role of these kind of leaders who come in our life, where they show us the right path, I think is very important. But I think the leader must have seen something in you, the way you empathized with clients and what problems you wanted to solve. So was there any interview you had to give to join sales and marketing, or it was a smooth transition from being into role into sales?
So I was not okay. I didn't realize the fact that I can really do well in sales.
Okay.
We had a disagreement, and my manager strongly believed that I can really do very good in sales. And he said, I am giving you an additional assignment.
Uh-huh.
You can kind of do a 50-50 role,
Wow.
right? And he started pulling me into sales and marketing discussions where he asked me to contribute my ideas. That's where really I also started thinking, okay, I think I have something around this, right?
Okay.
Inbuilt in me. Why don't I start my career in sales?
In sales. So I have a doubt. So did you then pursue any MBA degree in sales and marketing, or you just experiential learning has what has gotten you this far?
No, I didn't do any MBAs.
I think then maybe you are one of that unique leaders in sales and marketing world who has grown this tall without an MBA degree but learnt it along the journey. So what are your insights about it? Like coming from an engineering background, switching your career early on to sales and marketing, and not just that, doing exceptionally well. So what advice do you have for our young boys and girls who are into, say, a technical, probably they have chosen technical path, or there's some of them who have chosen MBA and BBA, those kind of, they're studying those kind of courses. what advice do you have for them to prepare themselves to kickstart their career in software sales and marketing?
Engineering is all about process oriented thinking, challenging a challenge, solving the real cause, solving problems, being a analytical thinking,
Mm-hmm.
systematic approach
Hmm.
is all is about engineering.
Okay.
Especially engineers are introverts.
Okay.
When you're sitting in front of a CXO,
Uh-huh.
all you need is to understand, to listen to him carefully.
Mm-hmm.
How can you bring tech value, connecting dots to solving his needs?
Okay.
Being an engineer, I felt this transition or a pivotal shift as more easier, as I can understand tech better
Better. Okay.
and I bring in that listening skill.
Okay.
Engineers are by nature introverts. Listening skills are more important to thrive in sales. You are sitting with an CXO who has a real pain. You have to listen to him, the entire story. What are his pain points? How can you back then connect with the tech and solve for his problems?
Amazing. And I never thought it this way, Preeti, earlier. Because I used to think that if you are an introvert, it is not going to help you in sales and marketing. I used to always think that sales and marketing is about being an extrovert, being an outgoing person, and who know how to communicate and all. But I could never so far imagine that even in being an introvert can be a strength. Thanks for sharing that deep insight. Now, I would like to listen to your story of what was your first sales that you cracked, something that you are till today, you probably are proud of when you look back in your journey. What was your first deal that you did, and can you share some details about it, if it is okay?
Sure, Mahesh. The pivotal shift happened when I was introduced to strategic accounts in my early career. It's a pharmaceutical company which had a major brand globally. They had a problem statement. I sat with a customer. It was in very early stages of my career.
Mm-hmm.
It is not easy to sit on the decision making table. It was back then the tech expertise in me, along with my manager, who pushed me beyond my limits to sit on the decision making table, explain how can we solve that particular problem of customer with the expertise we have in our organization. How can we break it into pieces, and how can we solve for each of these pieces and deliver a impact for her? How can they compete with their industry competition in the market?
Mm.
That is one of its kind of a motivation for a factor for me as well, that yes, I can really do good in sales.
Now, I would like to zoom in little bit on the skill sets, because a lot of our audience is actually the youth who are still studying, or who are still seeking for a job, or who are there in their early path of their career journey. So, what would be the few skills that you think are important for sales and marketing? And share us your journey of how some of your life experiences probably helped you acquire those skills, or also share about stories of how maybe you went through certain training or reading or something to pick up those skills. I would like to make that information available to our audience.
Sure, Mahesh. Coming back to the skill required to be a successful salesperson,
Mm-hmm.
at early stages, we can define it between three parts.
Okay.
One is early stage,
Uh-huh.
mid level, and a senior level. For an entry person, empathy, curiosity, learner's mindset, and communication skills.
Hmm.
These are the four real skills a person has to bring in. There is a person called Reggie Marble, who is a famous football player, who is a successful sales leader, who worked with Salesforce, Slack, who heads sales at Sierra currently.
Okay.
There is no math to it that only an MBA grad from a top IIM college can be a successful sales leader. Person from any background who shows curiosity, who brings in the learner's mindset, that helps you thrive. Coming back to mid-level, Connections are key.
Okay.
Leadership skills are key.
Okay.
How can you shape your team is key. Empathy. Treat everyone with empathy. These are the key skills required for mid-level. For senior level, leadership qualities, empathy plays a major role. Giving a psychological safety to your team, customer obsession, networking plays a key role. Your team can bring an unqualified lead onto the table. As a leader, how can you influence the deal overall to make it qualified and further close that deal? This is all is about the senior leadership.
Amazing. I think you really broke it down into three parts, and there was a lot of detailing on the skill. Now, I would like to zoom in on each of the skill. I know that some of this could be a little bit philosophical. I know that some of this could be a little bit of value system and philosophy and other things, but it's okay. So let's unpack each skill at the entry level. So one of the thing you said was empathy. So how to practice and develop empathy?
Empathy skill is required at every stage, every level, to every person. Treat everyone better.
Hmm.
When you foster empathy, the psychological safety, be it to your customer, be it to your team, be it to your peers, automatically comes in.
Mhm.
That makes you a better decision maker, better person in your field. Curiosity. If a person fosters a curiosity, he tries to learn more.
Mhm.
Mixing that curiosity with the learner's mindset, you will champion everything. Today, you may be selling cloud services. Tomorrow, it is Gen AI.
Mhm.
And the day after tomorrow, it is some other skill.
Correct.
If you're not learning, if you're not blocking those growth hours,
Mhm.
you cannot succeed. World is changing. You need to change along with the world, and that comes only when you are focusing, skilling yourself. And you asked about what are the different learning platforms which I focus. Microsoft Learn is one platform which I use it extensively, and you have this LinkedIn Learning,
Mhm.
again a baby product of Microsoft.
Microsoft.
They have amazing courses, but I think I've gone through some of your videos. Anyone who are in technology, they should listen to your podcast as well.
Thank you. It was very humbling to hear that I am also doing okay with this content. So tell us now a bit more about communication skill. And this is where I have a lot of questions, because you told me that you are an introvert. So somehow there is this misconceptions that probably introverts are not good with communication. So can you share some light on this?
Communication for me is not how much you talk.
Okay.
Communication is all about clarity of speech,
Okay.
clarity of vision. When you're sitting in front of your CXOs, when he's sharing his pain points, how well are you capturing? Going back to your organization, able to communicate it well with your technology architects. That is all about communication. And whether you can solve that problem or not. Every organization will have their own limitations of a technology. Communicating it back to customer that, boss, I have a limitation, skill limitation. This is all I can do for you. This is something which I cannot do for you. Clarity of speech. This is all about communication.
I am a little confused here. I understood that the clarity part, but to build that rapport or build that network and build that, get to know people and widen your network, then I somehow have, probably maybe it's a misconception, that I feel that you should also be comfortable in having these casual conversations in building your network or building relationships, right? So how does that come into picture?
That is all about traditional way of selling, Mahesh.
Okay.
Modern sales is changing.
Okay.
It is all about collaborative. It is all a consultative approach. It is all an advisory role you have to play. CXOs don't need this lengthy boardroom pitches,
Mm-hmm.
technical pitches and all. They need a trusted advisor. They look for that. Especially what I do is when I'm meeting a customer, I research a lot. I research a lot about their organization
Okay.
and who are the spokes whom I will be meeting, which are the areas of interest. This research will help me prepare my connection better. Again, I'm not giving the pitch. I am trying to establish a connection in his own way. Right? They need trusted advisors, not boardroom pitches.
This is a very fascinating insight, and I think you are breaking a lot of myths. At least for myself, I had a different perception of what sales and marketing is. Now, I would like to zoom in a little bit on the interview side, because I am sure you have given many interviews and you have taken probably hundreds of interviews. So, generally in software sales and marketing, at an early stage, what kind of interview rounds are there? And what kind of questions are asked, and how our youngsters can prepare for facing those interviews and doing exceptionally well in those interviews?
Again, the interview process I want to split between early or entry stage, a mid-level and senior level. For entry level, you need to show that curiosity. When I especially interview youngsters, I look for what kind of curiosity they are fostering during the discussions. I try to give them a small problem, which is nowhere related to the interview which I am doing, but that is how I gauge.
Okay.
How are their ability to transform the challenge or a problem which I am giving, translate into a solution? That is what I gauge. Again, communication skills. Are they able to capture what is the problem statement I am giving?
Okay.
And how is their response towards it? So that is at entry level. At mid-level. Mid-level is all about having industry relevant experience. You can't just come from a different background and be a mid-level manager, managing a team or managing a customer, right? It's not easy. You need to bring in relevant experience, right skill set. If I am into cloud sales, I need to at least have some sort of certifications, the level 100 sort of certifications. I think in very early stages, I have done AWS certifications, business essentials, architecting on AWS. For me, it was very easier because I bring in a tech experience as well, being an engineer. I was able to crack both of these certifications in one shot.
Wow. I think very few people in sales would
Focus
clear
on certificates.
for certificates, that to tech certifications. These are something that engineers do. This is very interesting insight.
So eventually, Microsoft saw my certifications and they called me, would you join us? For a small town girl like me, where I've seen my friends getting married at age 12, 13, which is illegal, but that is what I've seen, to working with very large top MNC. It is all because I put that effort. I had a clarity of my path. I really want to do something different. So for a mid-level, being relevant
okay,
is very important. And bring in some leadership qualities.
Okay. And for the senior role?
For senior roles, interviews doesn't happen, Mahesh.
Okay.
It is all about your connections. Like in my earlier segment also, I mentioned networking. It is all about networking. Okay. There is no interview for senior roles. It is either someone knows you are looking for a opportunity, they reach out to you, and then you close that. Or an organization is looking for someone, and you reach out to them and you close the opportunity. It is all about that.
And a lot of homework about that person would be done on the field itself. Like yes. From the field, they would know so-and-so is good with so-and-so sales or so-and-so at this organization. I think that homework could be done and then they connect the dots. Now let's go back to the interviews for the entry role. You gave a very good example that when you ask a question, you look for curiosity, you look for empathy, and in communication, you look for how good they are in listening and understanding your requirement, and then finally communicating back the solution. So, can you give us some sample questions? Like what kind of question you would ask an entry level person? And then dissect it for our audience, saying if this is the question, what is from an interviewer's perspective, what are the observations you're making? It's not like a cheat code, it's more about if this is the question, then you need to see it from these dimensions and think from these dimensions, is what I'm looking for.
Okay, especially if I'm taking some interview for someone in Bangalore, right? I would do this way. You have a customer meeting at 11 a.m. and you need to attend a sales event at 2 p.m. How do you manage your time? And this customer is sitting in maybe KR Puram and your event is in MG Road. How well do you plan your day? Right?
Mm-hmm.
If he is coming up with a thought process that, yes, I will be starting from my home at so and so time, I'll be catching a metro because there is a metro between these two lines. So that's a smart way of thinking. You are trying to break your problem, do an analytical thinking. How can you make up for both of them? Both are important. You cannot miss. So I use a real-time challenge to analyze them. I don't give them, okay, this is a cloud subscription, sell it to me. How do you sell? Right? For an entry guy, he doesn't know what is cloud. He doesn't know how to establish customer relationships. It is all about the curiosity he is showcasing in understanding my problem statement and delivering it with a solution is what matters to me.
I never thought this way. And in fact, when I was asking that question, what I was thinking in my mind is, we have seen in a lot of movies that they will just give a pen and say, sell this pen to me, right? And we have seen very interesting storytelling on that, right? Somebody will say, oh, you need this pen for so and so, and I mean, whatnot. So I was thinking that, these interviews are something like that, but the way you are approaching it is completely different. Now, if somebody want to practice these skills, how should they practice these skills?
Sell.
Okay.
I would say sell, and sell. The more you put in practice, the more you learn. The more rejections you face from customers, you become more humble and you learn from there. What mistake I have done? Why is that I could not crack this deal? That makes you think aloud. What mistakes I have done? Lean on your peers. There can be someone in your organization who does exceptionally well. It is okay to lean on your peers, to understand how differently they are trying to sell. Sales is all about passion. Sales is all about experiences.
Amazing. Now, I think my life journey is pushing me towards sales and marketing. So yesterday, I spent almost 2 hours with the placement officer, half an hour with the principal, and then almost 2 hours with an HOD and a dean. Just trying to listen to them, what their problems are, and trying to just help them connect the dots, and not trying to really sell our product or our service, trying to just mentor and coach them. And I'm trying to now connect the dots. And in a hindsight, now I feel that yesterday's day, even though I spent 4-5 hours with them, I feel it was worth it, because you use that word saying they are looking for consultants, coaches, solution providers. And I think that's what now I'm feeling, that probably I was heading in the right direction. And this is a great insight that you are sharing. And there is a lot of misconception, at least for myself, about sales and marketing. Now, I would like to hear the next breakthrough that you had, which is Microsoft. So you just briefly told us about your certification and how you received the call. So can you shed some lights on how you got into Microsoft, and tell us about your interview process? How many rounds of interviews were there to get into Microsoft? And tell us also about in each round, what do they look for and how they are different from each other.
Great. I think this is a very emotional chapter for me. Reason behind Microsoft is not just a entry in my CV. It has created a lot of changes in me as a leader. Today, whatever I talk about, the empathy, give back to the society, consistency is something which I've learned from Microsoft. So, coming back to how did I crack the interview? How did it happen? It was one fine day. Yeah, my husband was in Seattle that day. I've received a call from Microsoft. Prior to that, like I mentioned earlier, I've done some certifications, cloud certifications, which is AWS Business Essentials, architecting on AWS. It was in 2012. Probably that was a breakthrough for someone to search me in my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is always up to date. From that point, I'm well organized. I update my skills, I update my certifications, different tools I use. Probably someone visited my LinkedIn and then they gave me a call. We are calling from Microsoft. We are looking for someone for this role. I took a deep breath to realize, is it for true? I didn't do any great MBAs from B schools, not from IIMs. And I received this call. I was little shocked by the call. And after a minute, they were saying, "Hello, ma'am, are you there?" And I said, "Yes, yes. Would you like to attend an interview with us?" Of course. And they asked for a time slot. I really wanted to do it well because getting a call itself was a big thing for me.
Correct.
Right? I can say, except my husband, none of my family or none of my peers worked in Microsoft.
Okay.
It's a large tech organization. It's a dream for everyone to work in Microsoft. Getting that one call itself was a big thing for me, to be very frank. And then I set a comfortable time when I'll be at home and I can take this call really in a very closer, calm place. And I had 4 rounds of interviews. One was with my immediate manager. Second was with a cross-functional leader. Third one was my boss, my manager's manager. And fourth one was with the India head. So in 4 different rounds, 4 different people, 4 different questions, they were only looking for the consistency. Am I telling the same story in the same way or trying to fool around? That is all what I understood. Because all these questions were very similar in a different direction. They were only looking for whether I am consistent in my responses or not. They were looking for what kind of impacts I have landed, what differences I have made in my previous organization, some skill set. Because as I mentioned to you earlier, when you get into mid roles, you need industry relevance. Without that, it's very tough for you to survive. So they were looking for the relevance, role relevance. This is how within those 4 rounds, I was able to clear at Microsoft. And one fine day, I've joined Microsoft.
Amazing. And I think I have a similar emotion towards it. I was in a very small company, a startup in Bangalore in 2007. And that phone call, definitely, you get shocked, you get stunned. In my case, it was slightly different. Vendor company had called for contract position. And I was so ill-informed that time. I didn't even know there is something like this vendor companies and contracting jobs. And they said, "Oh, we are hiring for Microsoft." So I just thought it's a full-time position. That story is there in my other podcast, but I can relate with those emotions. Emotions of getting call from companies like Microsoft.
I also wanted to add one more pointer to that. It's very personal though. So, like I mentioned, my husband was in Seattle when I received this call. Then he started telling me, "Are you sure? Was that a spam call?" That really motivated me. I am getting this job. No one can belittle me in any way.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah. Things work differently, and where we drive or where we get inspiration or take it as a challenge in a different way. I think there is some God's plan in all of these turn of events. Now, can you just tell me a simple question generally asked in these kind of companies? Uh, we don't have to dwell into answers, but what kind of questions are asked?
the questions were all about, since it was a mid level role, it was more about what kind of knowledge I bring in around cloud sales.
Hmm.
What experiences do I carry? How did I convince a customer to move from on premises to cloud? How how did I land the impact?
Hmm.
What stage the organization was there when I took up this role, and in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, how did I change that organizational overall revenue in numbers in 1, 2, 3 years? What was my role in that exponential values? These are some of the questions I was asked, and I think I was very honest about what went right, what
Mhm.
went wrong.
Mhm.
It's not that always we have to speak about the positive experiences. It is okay to talk about the real time stories. What went wrong also is important, and how did I course correct myself after a failure is something which Microsoft also looked for.
Understood. And I learnt another thing, which is about probably they were probing in same things, but by different people to see consistency. Because if we are you rightly said, if we are cooking up, if we are coming up with stories, then managing that consistency is very difficult, and they will be able to catch it. So the other point which I liked is ability to say and be self critical and show growth mindset. And I think since we both worked at Microsoft, we know how much that word growth mindset has become very much important of Microsoft culture and its turnaround story. So definitely we look for that in the even technical interviews as well, as a skill or as a soft skill. Now moving on, I would like to know more about after Microsoft, what happened. So, where did you go, and then what companies you work for, and what roles you play?
After Microsoft, I have joined a global SI who was like a startup in rest of the world. There, my major role was to enable them in the market. This organization was not known in the rest of the world. They are a very large organization in Americas, but not known in the rest of the world market. I was hired to enable them in the rest of the world market, where, of course, again, they are a Microsoft company, right? So my experiences from Microsoft helped me into scale at a pace where I was able to enable people connections, product connections, and I also bring in lot of customer connections in the industry. So that is what was my role.
So, I know that now you are a leader, and now you are making hiring decisions, and you have made a lot of hiring decisions for so many people. So, I would like to know more about, as a leader, how you make these hiring decisions.
I hire with grit
Okay.
and help them enable, foster a psychological safety, show empathy, be part of their journey, connections, and I coach them, I mentor them. Eventually, they'll become successful leaders.
Have you? Can you tell something about, like, say, what are your some of the best hiring decisions, and also tell about some bad hiring decisions and what did you learn from them?
Good point, Mahesh. It could look little raw when I talk about bad hiring decisions. So let me first start with the good hiring decisions. When I had to hire for, again, cloud sales, people has had that apprehension, if I bring in the industry expertise, they will scale well, they can land impacts faster. For me, it is not about a faster landing, it's about lasting impacts. If you're able to hire someone with that qualification, I will thrive. In organizations will thrive. So I tried hiring someone from a non cloud background, helped them, coach, mentor them, gave them these hours in a week to spend on learning, right? And then they excelled. They got an award in earlier organization.
Amazing.
So when they won, I don't know how much happy they felt or their families felt, but I felt so proud, super proud of them that my decision was right.
Hmm.
And eventually, my earlier manager called up and said, I think you did a right thing. Your decision was right.
I mean, I can relate to this. Being at leadership position, somehow when you start mentoring people, their success gives immense pleasure and immense joy to you as well. Now, tell us your bad hiring decisions and what did you learn?
In one of my earlier organizations, I wanted to foster gender equality and wanted to hire more women. That was a reflection for my own journey where I wanted to give more women the opportunity to lead a successful career paths. I was only looking for curiosity, growth mindset, learner's mindset, but I missed about the attitude. I did a wrong hiring. Even in Microsoft, I used to lead a pillar called once I was 1 year I was leading diversity, 1 year I was leading inclusion, 1 year I was leading push. I really didn't focus on the attitude part. I made a wrong decision. I hired one female, one woman, and after some time, in spite of putting efforts in building a good pipeline, learning about what our organization is all about, how can she influence customers, right? How can she help customers solving their problems? She started to focus more on how the other man is trying to probe her. I did my own observations. I went back to her and I told her, it could be your misunderstanding. I'll put both of you in different teams.
Mhm.
And I thought that will settle. In different teams, again, she started coming back with a different complaint about someone else. Eventually, I know the other guy for more than a decade.
Mhm.
Maybe she didn't know
That
we know each
connect
other
each other better.
better.
Uh,
That's when I've decided I'm taking a bolder call.
mhm.
I'm letting off go this headcount
Mhm.
because end of the day, for me, fostering a great culture in the ecosystem is more important than just playing a woman card.
Amazing, and that too, this coming from a woman leader really sheds light on kind of leadership skill that you practice and apply, because it's natural for being a woman leader to be more empathetic towards them, but I really appreciate that you prioritized organizational health over that cause. So very thanks for sharing this interesting story. Priti, Microsoft is a dream company for so many people, and especially people from say tier 2 tier 3 towns or colleges. They also aspire to get into these companies. So can you just tell a little bit about how is the process, how can they apply to Microsoft, how they can prepare for Microsoft, and how they can get into Microsoft?
Mahesh, this is a great question. I'm sure this will help the youngsters out there. I will tell about what I did. Stay relevant. What are the roles you are looking for? It is at least a 3 to 4 months of effort someone has to put in. Which are the roles you are looking forward? Is it sales? Is it specialist? Is it technical? Is it a consultant? Is it a developer? You need to classify which role is fascinating for you.
Mhm.
Go to careers.microsoft.com. Every job is listed there. Follow Microsoft Careers in LinkedIn. Microsoft has a very transparent hiring process. They cannot deviate the process. Even when I was with Microsoft, when I was switching roles, I have literally done 4 different roles in Microsoft. For every role switch, this job gets posted in LinkedIn, in careers.microsoft.com. They will evaluate, test you well before onboarding you for the role transition. It's a very transparent process. There is no diversion in the process. Go to careers, figure out which are the roles excites you, read the job description. What are the different skill set they are looking for? Microsoft is a very inclusive world. They do not look at you come from a tier 2 city, tier 2 college. The hiring process is also very transparent. If you bring in the right skill set, growth mindset, consistency in across all your interviews, honesty, these are the different variations Microsoft looks at in someone. So it is important for you to do some background work. Which role fascinates you? What is the job description looking like? Do you have the skill set required? If not, go to Microsoft Learn, LinkedIn Learning, learn these courses, and apply during your interview process. And I just wanted to also highlight Microsoft has a very different process of hiring freshers. They have 8 to 10 designated colleges in India, especially.
Okay.
They only visit these colleges to hire interns.
And all these are like these IIMs and
Absolutely. Even for sales roles.
okay.
But for any experienced person, there is no way to shy away you come from a tier 2 city or a college.
Okay.
Your aspiration should be right intentions, right skill set. If you have 3 to 4 years of experience, still good in the relevant industry, be it coding, be it sales, be it architect roles. You need to bring in the right relevant experience. And again, if you do not have right relevant experience, learn, do some certifications, tools. And Microsoft also believes in diverse perspectives. Someone coming from a different background, they would love to hire you depending upon what kind of efforts you have put in. I can say I worked for AWS. I did so and so. I don't know anything about Azure.
Okay.
I was so blunt in my interview.
Okay.
I don't even know. In AWS, we call it as EC2 instances, S3 storage. I don't even know the terminology. What do you call in Azure?
Okay.
I was so honest. I don't know. But I've done these certifications. I've worked in similar environments. I've landed the impact. I worked with different clientele. This is the experience I bring in. I would love to adapt. I have showcased, demonstrated a growth mindset. I think that helped me.
Understood. This was really very insightful. Now, for people who are watching this podcast, if you are studying in a tier 2 or tier 3 college, unfortunately, the chances are very less. But please don't get disheartened. Prepare yourself. Like what Preeti suggested, go to careers.microsoft.com website. Start reading the job descriptions in, say, sales and marketing or other domains that excite you. Start reading these job descriptions and see how you can build that relevant experience either through your current work that you're doing or go through the trainings that Preeti recommended, some of the great sources that she learns from. And with that, there is an option to do an lateral entry once you acquire those skills. The another point which you made is super important, which is if you know that domain really well, let's say in AWS, transitioning and understanding Azure will be mapping exercise. most of the time, there is similarities or similar technological stack here as well. Since you learn one stack really well, you can say that, okay, the storage here is this, functions here is this. Then I think it becomes very easy. And I see this pattern, Preeti, in even technical interviews. For all the coding rounds, Microsoft never ever says that you write code in only this language. They give that freedom to the interviewee to write code in any language, because we know that if person can write code in one language comfortably, they can switch to the other languages easily on the job. And Microsoft has products from all the way from kernel level where we write in C++, all the way up to C# or even JavaScript and other high level languages. And an engineer in their career can transition from one department or one team to other, and they should be able to comfortably switch to other coding languages. So I can see that similarities between the approach in sales and marketing and also in technical roles. Now, the next question I have is, during their college days, when they are studying, how should, what otherwise we can think it this way, like what experiences they should try to have during their graduation so that it prepares them for Microsoft role?
Microsoft is all about the leadership principles which they look into you. If you are in college, there can be a student who is not able to catch up with your lecturer. Identify that such students. Sit with them, help them, nurture them, bring them up to the speed. From very early stages, you can nurture leadership skills in you this way.
Okay. By
It is-
mentoring others, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Mentoring is also a self-reflection.
Okay.
By mentoring others, especially, I don't want to use this kind of word called weak students, but someone who is not able to catch up to the speed of your lecturer,
Mm-hmm.
sit with them. You don't need an invitation. Don't look for an invitation that someone will come to me, ask for help, then I will help.
Okay.
Leadership-
Offer the help by yourself, extending that hand.
That way, you are improving yourself, you are mentoring someone else, you are creating real time impact in someone else's life. That will help you bring in strong leadership skills in you. Not just at Microsoft, you can dream for any organization. Of course, Microsoft is the Everest,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think it's important.
I think you gave a very thoughtful suggestion, Preeti, because when you try to teach or mentor others, you have to become good at listening and you have to become good at communicating your thoughts with clarity, right? And that those two skills, I think, set the right foundation for them to eventually pick up other skills and build on. So very well said. Now, moving to the next question. So, Preeti, there is a lot of this misconceptions thinking that sales and marketing role is very high pressure role. And I remember in India there was a viral video from banking industry where there was an abusive manager who was yelling at his team, and that was recorded and leaked in internet. And I know that eventually the manager got fired, and that has built I mean, not just that video, the general perception about sales and marketing is very high pressure environment. You have targets to meet. So I would like to get your perspective on this.
Mahesh, I don't want to decline the statement about pressure, target pressure, quota pressure
Mhm.
in sales industry. Yes, it is there, definitely. But leaders play a major role in how converting that pressure with empathy. Leaders play a major role in creating a culture, a vibe within the organization. So if a salesperson or a business development representative received a particular quota, end of the day, his leader quota is sum of all his
Yes.
team members' quota.
Correct.
If he has defined certain quota for each of his team member, it is all well defined targets,
Mm-hmm.
right? You need to get into details of your organization's strengths.
Okay.
People think sales is all about making 500 calls a week,
Hmm.
1,000 calls a month, doing cold calls, doing elevator pitches.
Mhm.
Yes, how do you enjoy all of that also matters.
Okay.
You don't need to make 500 calls a month. If you are able to reach right stakeholder, land right message, you will thrive in 5 calls also.
Okay. The meaning and the depth and the connection has to be right, not the
Absolutely.
quantity alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. You cannot quantify it.
Mm-hmm.
It is about the quality.
Quality.
If you are not able to understand what are your organizational strengths, you will eventually fail. If you're not able to do the right mapping of the connections, okay, today I'm talking about a security. Who will be the stakeholder at so and so organization? Security is a portfolio under CISO.
Okay.
You cannot go to a CDO.
Uh-huh.
CDOs are digital officers,
Okay.
chief digital officers.
Okay.
You can't go to a CDO and talk about security.
Okay.
You need to do the right mapping. You have to go to a CISO.
Okay.
It's
CISO
the
is what?
Chief Information Security Officer.
Okay.
It is CISO's duty in an organization to make sure he has a good security posture
Mm-hmm.
for his organization.
Mm-hmm.
He will understand what are you talking. If you are able to do that mapping right, if you are able to pitch your solution right, if you are able to listen to his problem statement in a right way, what is that he is looking for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, in security, you have lots of portfolios. Is it your email security? Is it your endpoint? What is that customer's challenge is all about today? If you are able to map to that level and do a meaningful conversation, you only need to do 5 calls in a month to do your quotas.
Understood. This is a very deep insight.
And I also want to make a note here.
Mm.
Tech sales could be overwhelming,
Mm-hmm.
both positive and negative way. If you do not understand what your organization's strength, you would eventually fail, that I mentioned. If you understand it very well and map accordingly, you will thrive. Second, tech sales stands way beyond than your other sales. Like it could be FMCG industry, it could be you, as you rightly mentioned about the FSI case, right?
Now, Algorithms 365 is an edtech company, and we are also into IT products. Now, we get to talk to stakeholders in universities and colleges. And as you were answering it, I was able to connect the dots and reflect on, are we talking to the right people and who are the decision makers? And I think it's a very key to identify the right stakeholders and try to go and talk to them and see if we can solve their problems. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the salary and the pay and the perks. So this is something which is very sensitive, and it can also be inspiring. So how does these salary ranges vary at entry level to mid level to senior level? And how does it vary between, say, IT versus, say, non-IT? Can you share some references and insights into this?
Sure, Mahesh. Salary in sales is lucrative.
Okay.
Your base is very similar to the range of your engineer peer, and you have a additional compensation called incentive,
Mm-hmm.
with which you will actually outburn your counterparts in engineering.
It's enlightening for me. I never thought it so. Okay. At entry level, how does this look like?
At every level, it remains the same.
It remains the same.
Yes.
Does it vary between, say, Microsoft versus non-Microsoft, or IT versus non-IT?
So I was in IT. I am in non-IT. I was with Microsoft. I am with non-Microsoft. I would rather say your experiences,
Mm-hmm.
the impact you can land onto the table matters a lot. Like I mentioned, the base salary remains same. It's in the same range of what a engineer at similar set of experience, years of experience is earning. You have something called incentive, which is very fascinating. You can earn it up to, at Microsoft, I could earn up to 500x. In my current organization, there is no cap.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's the more impact I land, it's the more I make.
Understood.
And coming back to Microsoft, non-Microsoft, if someone can hire me from Microsoft,
This is a very interesting insight. So, for somebody who is watching this podcast, let's say for whatever reason you did not get into engineering, you don't have to feel disheartened. Even if you have chosen other paths of learning, whether it's BBA or BCom or MBA, you have an opportunity to earn better than even the engineers. Like what Preeti rightly said, in case of sales and marketing, that incentive component does not have a limit. The higher the sales, the incentive keeps proportionately going up. Preeti quoted her personal experience of even going all the way up to 500%. Preeti, now let's move into one of the very interesting and topic which is very close to my heart as well is leadership. I am sure every discipline of an organization needs amazing leadership and amazing culture which get crafted and directed by the leaders in the organization. But I'm sure in sales and marketing, the need for being very good at leadership is super important because you're dealing with people, emotion, empathy, connections day in, day out. It's the people and then the solutions. So please tell me what are the some of the leadership values and the leadership principles that you follow and that are essential to thrive in sales and marketing?
I follow a 5C framework: consistency, competency, courage, and confidence, compass.
Can you unpack all these five for us?
Consistency. What, whether be it Microsoft, be it startups, or at my first organization, or in my current organization, what remained consistent was customer obsession. Competency. If I am not competent, I can't land value.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know what am I going to talk. I need to know whom am I going to talk. This WH questions you need to figure out well. Why, what, when, where.
Super. Okay.
Coming to courage and confidence, again, honesty plays a major role. If you can't do something, confidently tell customer that I can't do this. No need to hesitate to the fact. And CXOs appreciate the same with the courage. No need to feel tomorrow customer may not call me if he has a different requirement. Showcase all the courage and confidence. Yes, boss, this is your problem statement. Unfortunately, I have a limitation, technology limitation. I can't deliver this. It is okay. And compass. Integrity is really required. The other one is collaboration. You need to work with cross-functional teams. It's not just your own team who delivers the value. You need to have that collaboration between all your stakeholders. You need to do internal stakeholder mapping as well. Very rightly. They should feel you as valued part of the organization. I can bring 100 customers onto the table, but if I'm not doing an internal collaboration mapping, well, customer is gone. End of the day, when I have done this pivotal shift of myself from doing to enabling, like from a techie myself into sales, I had to make sure everyone in the room has a role to play. I will act a enabler role rather than doing role. So collaboration plays a major portion in my entire journey. So the 5C framework is what I follow.
You really summarized it and put together really nice in a way that I think our youth will remember it. Now, double clicking on leadership, how has been your leadership journey? So, when did you take on leadership role, and what were some of the learnings you had along the way, and what were some of your mistakes, and how do you reflect on those?
Leadership is not just a title, Mahesh. If you are a people manager, doesn't mean you are a leader. If you are an IC, doesn't mean you are not a leader. Leadership is all about showing the empathy, helping each other, leaning on your peer when required, uplifting someone else, right? So this is all is about leadership. And I think I used to get bullied when I was in schooling. I was a topper of my class, but eventually, because of my skin tone, I used to get bullied. But I took that as an opportunity. When the person who bullied me failed, being class topper, I felt I should sit with the guy. I should mentor him. I should give him good tips and tricks where he can start studying in a way that he likes, enjoys studying, and he excels. So I think if you ask me leadership qualities and all, I think I've learned from my own drawbacks. I learned from my own life that the moment this guy picked up in studies, this guy started getting ranks, that's when the school started thinking about me. And this was when I was in class 6th.
Amazing story, Priti. And I cannot imagine a girl studying in 6th standard can think of this way, where she went ahead and helped a bully in the class to turn around. And one point I can consistently see in our conversation, that you always come back to two key things. I think the main point is empathy, and second is mentoring others. And be it interviews, be it leadership, be it skills, I can see that you are able to connect it back to these two things. And I can now clearly see that why you have been appreciated by so many people, whether it's your bosses or your peers on LinkedIn, about how you have helped them. I can see that genuine interest and passion, because looks like it's very much part of your personality. And I'm sure that has played a pivotal role in you to grow in your career.
I think it's really important to give back to the society where we live in.
Understood. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that detail. Now, let's understand the other part, where since you are now at a very senior role, I'm sure most of your days you spend talking to CXOs, CEOs, CTOs, and stakeholders who are running and leading multi-million or probably multi-billion dollar industries. So, how does that happen? How do you go and build these connections, and how do you interact and talk to these kind of industry leaders?
Like I earlier mentioned, I do a lot of research.
Mm-hmm.
Whom am I meeting? Again, the WH questions comes in place. Whom am I meeting? Why am I meeting? Right? I do thorough research. What are there some of the pain points? I follow them in LinkedIn. I will start looking at who are they following, why are they following, who are they commenting on. When you go to LinkedIn into their profile, you will be able to figure out everything. That will help me understand what is their interest. And when I sit in front of them, it is not easy to again get a seat at decision making table. I put my hand, heart, head together to do this research. Finally, when that day comes, I listen. I show all the customer obsession, and I start with the storytelling. Like I mentioned earlier, CXOs don't need these boardroom pitches.
Mm-hmm.
They need a trusted advisor. I want to be that one trusted advisor. I co-own their goals.
It's a very powerful line, what you said, co-own their goals. And the other thing you said about research, I never saw it that way. I don't think I never did the research to that extent about anyone I'm going to meet or talk on the LinkedIn to a level that you mentioned. And this was really a very deep insight.
So I think since I have close to 2 decades of experience, maybe it looks fancy to say all of this. But when during my early stages of career, I did have my own struggles of establishing relationships. There are a lot of tools. LinkedIn is a best tool for networking. Your organization may do some events. That is another platform for you to network. There are a lot of, especially in Hyderabad, you have T Hub, V Hub, where government initiatives for networking activities.
Mhm.
You need to really follow what is happening, watch out what are the different activities happening around, which can help you fasten your networking. Start with LinkedIn in case if you do not know anything.
Mhm.
There are a lot of great tools which gives you a database of an organization. So you can purchase a subscription to find out who is what in an organization. Start with LinkedIn. Even nowadays, I just ask Copilot, who is the current CIO. Industry is changing so much. There can be a change in the leadership in a particular organization. And due to my busy schedule, sometimes I may miss out that announcement in LinkedIn. So I ask Copilot, who is the CIO, who is the CEO of certain company, and then it gives me the names. And I can go back to LinkedIn to check if I'm really connected with this guy. Did we cross paths in any of the events? So that is how I work. But in early stages uh, of my career, I used to do Google search, Bing search to find out who is the CIO currently. Go to LinkedIn, send a connection request. You can send email in LinkedIn also. I am looking forward to establish a connection with you. I want to meet you. This is my story. I want to establish a partnership, collaboration between your organization and my organization. It is okay to reach out.
Understood. Now, have read your LinkedIn profile and I see that you have won so many awards and you have been a top performer yourself. So, what are some of the things that you did, I think, right, which helped you be in the top performers? And can you share some details around some of the awards that you have won and that really if made you feel happy and you had that sense of accomplishment?
Awards are the reflection of your journey, of your efforts. It is not easy to win an award just like that, especially in sales industry. When I meet customer, I don't ask many questions, but from his problem statement, I try to demystify few things.
Mhm.
Is there an intent to buy? Does my product line align with his pain points? Can I make an impact? At the end, I will ask 2-3 questions like, what are your timelines looking like? What are the budgets looking like?
Mhm.
If you don't have these 2 answers, you will eventually fail. Without knowing customer priorities, is it his top priority? Or is it our next quarter priority, next year priority? What are the budgets? And then you can simplify your offering, which fits right into their budget. And then I consistently show up.
Mhm.
I had my first interaction. I come back, I send minutes of meeting, and then I do a email follow up. That eventually doesn't work. You need to show up consistently. You need to show all the aggression, obsession to customer. You are willing to help him. You are co-owning the goals. of your CXO. That is where you will create an impact. Eventually, you will retire your quotas. When you retire your quotas, you win your awards. I want to talk about one particular award. When I was with Reliance Industries, I won one award, which was a global award, which was whoever closes more business will win this trip to Netherlands.
Okay.
And I stood global rank 1.
Wow. May I know what product or service is
It
this?
was data center business.
Data center. Amazing. Amazing.
So you need to have a personal motive also. Why do you want to do?
Hmm.
Like as I mentioned earlier, sales is not just about your base pay. It's a mixture of your incentive. There is a personal motive. I try connecting the dots between all of this. My personal motive, and I want to lead with impact. I want to be an example. Connecting all these 3 dots, I think I have been a good sales person so far. I did fail, but I learned. I became more and more humble. I've learned and I've come back.
Thanks for sharing. This is really very inspiring. Now, let's segue into the Gen AI because you did briefly mention how now you have started using Gen AI. And there is this feeling that, every now and then we get to see these viral reels where they say Gen AI is going to finish this role or this role is going to close. But you rightly pointed out that building these connections with CXOs and all, it can help you in research, but you have to show up there consistently to build those relationships. So you have seen this industry for over last 2 decades. Tell me, Preeti, how some of these Gen AI tools will impact this industry and some of these roles and responsibilities, and how it can act like a catalyst or an empowering tool to excel and succeed in these roles.
Sure, Mahesh. When computer was invented, people started to think they will lose their jobs, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Now Gen AI is creating a wave. So you need to look at any new technology as a complement to the world, not as a competition to your own job. You need to learn, learn, and learn where it can automate some of the systems, some of the processes, which can take away a human error, so-called human error in the system.
Mhm.
And sales is something which Gen AI can never replace. You can create a chatbot in your website which
Okay.
will say hi, hello, talk in good English, throw up some product decks, corporate presentations. But you need to establish these connections. Even in this modern sales generation, relationship still matters. Your Gen AI tool cannot be a trusted advisor for your customers. It is you. But at an industry level, at my organization, how am I able to leverage Gen AI to solve some of the industry pain points? Matters to me. If I am not in the competition, I will eventually lose. Gen AI is only going to bring in more and more jobs into life than taking away the jobs. So if there is a myth that Gen AI will going to take away your job, then you are wrong.
Very well said, and I share completely same opinion. In my previous podcast, I have made the similar statement that it will enhance, it will bring in those areas of technology or those problem statements which were beyond the reach of regular coding or structural coding. Because now with Gen AI, we are able to solve some of those problems which were not possible with structured coding. So, very well said. Now, in your day to day life, where be it sending an email, sending a proposal, writing a document, in those kind of tasks that any sales, an individual contributor or a leader perform, is that helping you to increase your productivity and do those things in a better way?
Gen AI is enhancing my productivity, Mahesh. I use Copilot Summary. It will throw me all the action items required from my end. It will summarize all my emails. And when I am sending an email to customers, I request Gen AI to make it more formal. When I'm sending it to my team members, I want to add that manager tone, right? By nature, I am very soft spoken, and my emails are also.
Okay.
But Gen AI is bringing that boldness in my emails to my team, especially. And when there is a dependency on someone, how do I change the tone? How do I make it more formal for a CXO, for his level? It polishes, it is enhancing my overall productivity.
Amazing. I think Microsoft has done a brilliant thing by naming it as a co-pilot, because you are still the pilot and you are still the one who's driving the plane, and it helps as a co-pilot. That I really, often Microsoft get criticized for naming our products not so correctly, but that perception has been changed. I mean, Bing was a great name, and now I see Copilot is an amazing name they have come up with. So the last segment of our conversation is about your legacy and your leadership. I think you have grown immensely and you have won so many awards, but I'm sure there is an exciting career still ahead of you. So what kind of legacy, and how do you want that industry and people to recognize you and know about you?
So, when I talk about my goals, ambitions, it is not just about my passion, which I want to continue as a successful leader in my tech path. It's my life in full. Indra Nooyi is my inspiration, and with empathy, you can drive things. If I have to put it in a very different way, I wanted to use this word. It is okay to have a very normal English. You don't need to camouflage things. It is okay to have a very simple life, still be successful. And you need to work really hard. What are your goals? As I mentioned, my goal is to have my life in full, family plus career. And you need to have that supportive system. You need to create that environment where your kids feel safer when you are not around. Your husband foster that respect for you, and your in-laws, parents value your career. I think I put very hard efforts in creating a supporting environment for my kids at home. Today I'm here. I travel every week. Now I'm traveling in India, but in my earlier stints, I used to travel globally. It's highly impossible for me to give that cultural values myself to my kids every day. And hence, since my goal was pretty clear, I have created that environment for my kids where when I had to lean down, I did that. In front of my in laws, in front of my parents, I created the trust for me at home, created a support system for my kids at home. Today, when I am traveling, it's a guilt free trip. It's not just the joy of winning in the industry where I am, it's also the joy of having a beautiful family back at home. When you go back during your weekends, you have your beautiful smiling family who trusts you to the core, who respects you for your passion.
Very deep things, and I think a lot of girls and women who are watching this, you have a lot of inspiration to drive from the things that Preeti just said. So can you tell me who are your heroes and what you have learned from them, and how does it has shaped your thinking and your leadership style or your values in your life?
Definitely, Mahesh. Satya Nadella is one of my inspirational leader. The way he got Microsoft from where it was to where it is, it has created a wave. His book Hit Refresh inspires every individual on the planet Earth. Second, I already mentioned Indra Nui. She made things which were impossible made possible. Like a brown lady cannot be ruling in this so called male dominant world. And she became a very successful leader in one of the Fortune 50 organizations. You can have your well balanced life, a family life, and a successful career. You can be still a immigrant and become successful in world's number one cities in the world. I think she broke all the stereotypes. As a female, as a woman, I really look up to her about how did she break? How did she it I think her life is also not a fully successful, and similar way even I had my own failures. How did I bounce back from that failure and stand here today with all the courage and confidence that what come what may, I will never give up. She inspired me a lot.
Amazing. And I can see that you rightly pointed out she had her own ups and downs in her career. And she talks a lot about her husband and then her mother and how they supported. And back home in India, how, when her mother and others were not ready to send her abroad for studying, and how her some of the family members supported her. You are definitely right. I think two leaders you quoted has been very phenomenal, and we can relate with them because there is some connecting dots between from where they come from, and the backgrounds they had, and the height and the growth that they experienced is definitely inspirational. Thanks for sharing a lot of these great insights, and coming over here to Bangalore to our studio. And I'm sure a lot of the youngsters will be inspired by your journey. And also you shared a lot of practical and pragmatic tips on how to acquire skills and how to grow in their career, how to apply to companies like Microsoft. We touched base from very early career as an entry level salesperson to all the way up to leadership role. So in the closing remarks, Preeti, would you like to say any set of final set of words to youngsters who aspire to be in this role?
First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity, Mahesh, where I could share some of my life stories, which I've never would have shared. You made me feel so comfortable that I could go beyond and share some of very personal things. I only wish youngsters out there also choose sales as a career path. There is so much to do. And to all the young ladies there, nothing can stop you. It's all your determination, it's all your approach, thought process, which can break any stereotype. You can succeed in this, sorry to use this word, male dominant world, and you can be successful too. Also, I would like to thank you, your entire team. Mahesh, I know you for more than a decade. The way you left your high paid job at Microsoft and starting this to give back to the society, you are a true leader. You are an inspiration. And I hope people out there leverage all the good learnings from your podcast, from your Algorithm 365 channel. I wish you all the best. And I want to say this unfiltered. We are blessed to have a person like Mahesh who left everything, came all the way from US to India to start this. Thanks,
Thank
Mahesh.
Thank you.
On behalf of the entire youth of India.
Thank you. It's very humbling and very honored to hear this. And I think I'm really super excited to see what lies ahead. Thanks for coming.
Wishing you and your team a very good luck and all the best.
Thank you. I'm sure you all enjoyed and learnt a lot from Preeti. If you are a student or youngsters, please subscribe to our channel and continue to follow us. We will bring these exciting career stories from the industry to you. If you are an industry leader who want to give back to the society, who would like to help mentor our youngsters, please reach out to us. Our email IDs are there on the screen. We will help set up these kind of podcasts and get your message out to the campuses in India and abroad. If you are an academic leader, please reach out to us because we also want to get academic perspective to industry leaders and our students. Let us all come together and bridge this gap between industry and academia and train and inspire millions of our youth to build Vikasit Bharat by 2047. Namaskara. Thank you. Signing off. Mahesh Arali. Jai Hind.